Hello, and welcome to Sliders and Wings, the podcast about the TV show Sliders
and the TV show Wings
and all the other forgotten TV shows of the 90s.
I'm Valerie Temple.
And I'm Rachel Cox.
And we've got imposters on the show today.
What's the episode with the married people where they try to guess what their significant others said about them?
The Newlywed Game?
The Newlywed Game, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like that, except we're not newlyweds.
It still feels like yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, I'm Valerie Temple.
And I'm Rachel Cox.
And these jokers here are our husbands.
Hi, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Greg.
Okay, so this show has been on our list for a while, and it's always been earmarked that at the very least that Greg would come on.
It's the only show I watched in the 90s for
Ever?
the entire decade. Yeah, I didn't watch literally one other show.
That says a lot about you, Greg.
We can get into it later, but
I
yeah.
thought you had to go to bed at 7 o'clock every night.
8 o'clock. When was it on? Well, that was before. I mean, this came out when I was like 13 or whatever. 90 and 91.
I was in grade school.
I was 10. I was barely allowed to watch The Simpsons, so this definitely wouldn't have been on a list of acceptable shows for
I
my
have
mom.
a vague memory that maybe I kind of wasn't always allowed to watch this show.
We just let our 4-year-old watch the S.P.E.W.E.Y episode.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Times have changed. Oh, they were laughing so hard.
So if you can't tell, we're talking about Get a Life today.
Get a Life. Get a Life is a television sitcom that was broadcast in the United States on the Fox network from September 13th, 1990 to March 8th, 1992. The show stars Chris Elliott as a 30-year-old paperboy named Chris Peterson. Peterson lived in an apartment above his parents' garage, and the dad is played by his real-life father, comedian Bob Elliott. The show is the creation of Elliott, Adam Resnick, and then writer-director David Merkin. They were all involved in The Simpsons and David Letterman, etc. You'll see Bob Odenkirk's name pop up a lot as one of the writers.
Also, Charlie Kaufman was one of the writers, which is insane.
But the show, I would describe it as the prototypical Adult Swim show. Absurd, surreal, goofy. I mean, I remember going to see Cabin Boy in the theaters and thinking it was going to be a real hoot. And I was like, what?
Oh my God. We watched Cabin Boy last night
How's Cabin Boy these days?
It's not good.
It's
Yeah,
terrible.
Didn't age well.
It looks like shit too. It's
That was on
filmed terribly. It was on purpose.
He said they gave him a huge budget, but he didn't want the budget. He wanted to look really crappy.
Well, he succeeded. So good job, them. It's filmed and the humor is as if it's a feature-length comedic segment on Letterman. So it looks terrible and it is so obnoxious.
Right. What's funny on TV, like at midnight for 2 minutes, is not necessarily funny when you pay money to go to a theater for 2 hours. What I do admire about Chris Elliott and Resnick and these guys is their utter contempt for the audience. It's like a dare, and they're sadistic. It's meant to provoke the audience, not engage them in a pleasant way.
Well, yeah, that's the Adult Swim vibe. You're coming along for the ride, whether you like it or not.
They're almost reveling in finding ways to be as unpleasant as possible. The characters are unpleasant, and it's an unpleasant viewing experience. They're just daring you to sit through it, I guess. That's part of the joke, is that they made you sit through it, I think.
The early Fox network was just crazy in general. The lunatics were running the asylum, and I think Get a Life is probably the craziest they ever got. And all those Fox shows early on were very self-conscious. We are making a TV show, and they'd riff on these kind of baby boomer sitcom cliches and subvert them. Married with Children did it.
The Simpsons did it.
Yeah, we don't think of it that way now, but it did. This dysfunctional family, we take that for granted now, but it was kind of controversial. But Get a Life just takes that to a whole other level. Married with Children was kind of recognizably blue collar. It was like the sleazier Roseanne, but Get a Life is beyond. It's that crossed with Letterman humor.
It's taking this idea of a parody of a 1950s sitcom and just twisting it until it's a demented, psychotic nightmare-scape.
You watch it now, Adult Swim, all that stuff, society like overtook Get a Life. But at the time, it was so rare. Early Fox shows, the only thing I can think of is Herman's Head. Experimental things that would have never gotten made in a million years on any other thing. That's why it resonated with me at the time. I was like, this is just the weirdest. It's so outlandish and unique. Everything else is just formulaic.
Yeah, I always thought I was the only person that had seen that show. And then I started dating Greg and he had the box set. Meant to be.
Oh, love.
Yeah, I watched it at the time. I tried to catch it whenever it was on. And then, life went on. And then it turned out my friend Tim had videotaped them all, or most of them. So like later on, early college, we would just sit there and watch them over and over and over. And it became part of my personality.
Oh,
like I walked in here
God.
after going to the bathroom and said, these pipes are clean. That's some Cabin Boy when he has sex for the first time.
God.
Different pipe.
How many have we watched, Greg, in the past week?
5 or 6.
Is that it? I feel like I've watched 5 or 6 and you.
Maybe a little bit more.
There's 32 or 35, something like
I
that.
thought you made a good dent in it.
So we have owned the box set of Get a Life for, I don't know, I'm going to say 10 years. It could be 8 years. It's a long time. And these 3 episodes that I watched are the only 3 I have watched. We got the box set all those years ago. Aaron was so excited. We put it on. And I was so annoyed by the first episode that I was like, you can watch this without me.
You're a typical Fox executive.
Yeah, the executives weren't a fan of this show. And when you talk about, Fox during that era, the lunatics were running the asylum, this show was too psychotic even for them. They were like, can you make this a little bit more palatable?
Well, it's designed to insult and ridicule everything these money people pretend to value. But they don't value it. But I mean, they pretend to. And Get a Life is just such a spit in the face.
It's a thumb of the nose at everything.
And it's not even like it's really satire. There's no greater statement. It really is just obnoxious.
It's bratty. Adam Resnick has said that Chris Elliott's character is inspired by Dennis the Menace. The pitch was basically, what if Dennis the Menace was 30 and never grew up and has no interest in growing up? That's not a likable character.
It was funny that the running gag is that his parents only wear robes. And then the reason why is that his dad was kind of just old and didn't want to be doing costume changes. So he just said, just wear a robe.
I like that.
30 isn't old. Like at the time, it was like, he's so old. I mean, to be a paperboy, yeah.
Was there a show before Get a Life that ever had the kind of man-child adult? Because now it's so common. People used to grow up. They used to behave like adults. And now they wear Star Wars t-shirts when they're 50.
Teenagers used to be adults.
I don't know if a 30-year-old living with their parents is a radical concept now. I loved that the executives for season 2, they wanted the Chris Elliott character to seem more independent. So the show decided, okay, we'll move him out of his parents' garage and move him into Brian Doyle Murray's garage.
Season 1, season 2. Parents and then Gus.
We watched one episode without the laugh track, and that was weird. It was like very hard to tell what the jokes
No,
were.
it was still funny.
Yeah, it's probably more dry, like Mary Hartman.
There's no audience there, but the producer, like David Merkin, is there laughing. So you hear one guy laughing.
What?
Yeah, if you listen to some of them without the audience, it's just him like, ha ha.
At least those guys were having a good time.
Yeah. I mean, this shouldn't have happened. It was just a bunch of guys wanted to do something fun. I mean, they did it for themselves and they got away with it.
Chris Elliott, just as a star, the star of his own sitcom, the star of a movie, he's just like the most unlikely person to feature. They make fun of that, obviously, but it's still his comedic persona. He's like a braggart. There's a lot of fun he has with this overconfidence. He thinks he could be a model. He thinks he's smart. He thinks he's hot stuff, sort of beyond self-deprecation. He's making himself the butt of the joke, but he's so proud of himself that it transcends that idea.
Never gets a comeuppance because he's unself-aware.
As a performer, Chris has just zero vanity. He is the least vain celebrity of all time. And he kind of revels in that. I don't know if it's true, but you watch the show and it feels like he's not even wearing stage makeup. Just like, fuck it. He looks bad.
Well, yeah, he wants to look bad.
He loves looking bad. I mean, I was just thinking about his iconic appearance in There's Something About Mary. By the end of that movie, he is literally covered in boils.
It looks like he's wearing a fat suit sometimes. Like
No, that's real.
I know, but he's got like a skinny head and a skinny neck, and then he's just like very lumpy and doughy.
His clothing fits really oddly.
The womanly shape.
Poor Aaron has the bad luck to be a blonde, balding guy. So he has definitely gotten a "you look like Chris Elliott" comment once or twice in his life.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but I used to.
Not the person you want to be compared to.
I was walking down the street in Cleveland. It was like midnight, and some guy was like, "You were in Something About Mary." I thought he was kidding, like saying you look like Chris Elliott. But this guy thought I was. He was kind of scary. And like I couldn't dissuade him. It was kind of creepy. Why would Chris Elliott be walking down Detroit Avenue in Cleveland at midnight?
Something Chris Elliott would do, probably.
I guess so.
Before the mustache, I would get Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, whatever that guy's name is.
Alan Ruck.
We mentioned him in the last episode because Val's mom went to high school with him.
That's right. He was like 30 when they filmed Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And so my mom name dropping him always backfired on her. She'd be like, "Oh yeah, I went to high school with him." Everyone, it never failed, would say, "There's no way he's as old as you." Every time she got burned by people. In addition to Bob Elliott, who plays the dad, who's Chris Elliott's real dad, and he was part of a comedy team, Bob and Ray. They were on radio for like 40 years. In the casting, they were playing with classic TV milieu tropes, but also the settings and the people they cast. I guess in the opening credits, you can see the house from the Munsters.
The lady bending over in front of it.
Yeah, you never even look at the house because you're looking at the lady bending over, but that's the house from the Munsters. And then the mom was played by Elinor Donahue, who was the daughter on Father Knows Best. And then Sam Robards played Larry. So Larry is Chris's friend who's sort of a regular guy. He's married, he's got a job, he's got kids.
Straight man.
He's played by Sam Robards, who his parents are Jason Robards and Lauren Bacall. I love picturing Lauren Bacall watching this show.
I know both of them, they were a lot. I wanted to check, like, did they see this?
Yeah.
They're sitting there watching this.
I would like to hear the commentary. Jason Robards and Lauren Bacall trying to get through an episode of Get a Life.
Sam Robards is such a great cast for that character because he looks exactly like a straight man. So straight-faced and like humorless, but he's in the show. Like he's doing this on purpose. It's not by accident.
They're a lot like the Darcys on Married with Children. Before it was Jefferson Darcy, when it was Steve Darcy.
Oh, I forgot about Steve Darcy.
They used to bring him back once a season. They'd always like find an excuse to bring back Steve.
Right.
I only remember Jefferson.
I don't know how long Steve was on, but it was a while.
Weird.
There weren't too many other cameos, but I just watched the Donald episode. His cousin Donald comes on, but that's not Haley Joel Osment. The guy from The Watchmen.
Jackie Earl Haley.
Yes, there it is.
He plays the cousin?
He plays the cousin.
Oh, wow.
And Oscar was watching, and like they kind of build it up, this cousin that him and Chris, they hate each other. They have a rivalry. And Oscar was like, I want to see him so bad. And like you're seeing everything from the cousin as you walk in. It's him. It's Donald. And they finally show him, and Oscar just died laughing. It's so ridiculous. This like 4 foot snotty looking
little skinny nothing.
Yeah.
Him. Oh my God, that's so funny.
I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see Donald.
Oscar, that's so cute.
It's really satisfying to see him like understand narratives.
Ivan got S.P.E.W.E.Y right away.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I still have not seen this S.P.E.W.E.Y episode.
It's a must.
I was just glancing over the Wikipedia page. First, I was reading it to Aaron, and I was like, there's a character named S.P.E.W.E.Y?
Race car driver, friend.
His name's S.P.E.W.E.Y. It's like an E.T. sort of alien who, what is it, secretes mucus
Out of his elbows, yeah.
that Chris then drinks.
Yeah, could use a little more crepe lock.
Oh, and then he just projectile vomits, and then Chris ends up eating this alien.
You just watch it.
Oh my
Special
God.
person entering the world, egg yolks.
Synopsis doesn't do it justice.
No.
Every 2 seconds, Ivan was screaming what was happening in Craig's ear. He's like, he's throwing up.
It takes him to meet the Pope.
Does he beat up the Pope? I think that's what I read. Oh my God.
Don't drop your yarmulke.
It's the first episode Greg shows guests when they express an interest.
Sure. Just to set the mood.
I like the one where he becomes an escort. That was pretty funny.
The male escort.
Yeah.
I remember
The one I remember watching when it aired was the one where he like has like the hot dog in his mouth and he's like terrorizing the neighbor woman. And he's like, I'm hot dog boy. I was at a friend's house and it was on and I was just like, what is this? I was hypnotized. But I was also like so young. You know, I'm a little younger than you. So I didn't really know how like TV worked. And like I didn't know what channel it was on or like what time. So like I don't think I ever saw the show again. But I always remember that episode and it really imprinted in my memory.
Yeah, I don't remember what episodes I saw as a kid. I remember Sandy, what's his face, Martin Mull.
We watched that one. Chris wins a celebrity or something.
For the weekend.
Yes.
We watched one where he's like walking along and he sees a little girl pushing something in a carriage and he peeps in and it's a
Severed head.
It's
It's one of the musical montages that they do. Very tropey send up of a montage.
I think my summation of the show is that the concept behind it is now so replicated that it's very easy to describe. It's Adult Swim. Reverend, surreal. I guess it was a breakthrough show.
Well,
People copied it.
I also have to say that Rachel and I have watched a lot of 90s TV shows thus far on the podcast, and this does stand out by a mile. I mean, it might be replicated at this point that it doesn't seem as shocking, but truly it is in a class of its own.
It's not 90s. It's its own thing. I mean, it happened in the 90s, but
For of all the things we've watched, what has held me back from ever watching more of any of those shows has been the repetitious, boring format. The A plot, the B plot, you see everything coming from a mile away. And the best thing about Get a Life is you just have no idea where it's going.
he dies in half the episodes.
Right. Just on IMDb, the storyline, such show topics included the eating of a space alien, a robotic paperboy, and numerous beheadings. Okay. I was just glancing through all of the plot synopses of the episodes, and just getting the beginning of an episode is a wild ride. After choking on cereal and dying, he gets psychic abilities. You're like, oh, okay.
And the
You
dad
can't
gets a lot of the good jokes.
Yeah, as an adult now with children, his jokes are more resonating with me than necessarily the goofy child.
Chris, you're an idiot.
He's like, I have to beat Sapphire.
Oh, the
my
male
mom's
modeling.
he's like, who's she?
Yeah, he's
Who's
real
she?
deadpan.
Can you imagine being that and then your son is Chris Elliott?
I
Like,
know.
what are you doing?
Yeah. Bob Elliott is kind of a Bob Newhart type. It's just
Right.
like
Oh, yeah.
really understated, really dry and deadpan. And his son is a mutant. Like he is a mutant.
And then his dad's in Cabin Boy as well, briefly. He plays his father again at the very end.
In Get a Life, he's a handsome boy. In Cabin Boy, he's a fancy lad.
All I remember from Gavin Boy is these pipes are clean and eating chum.
Oh,
Chum is big. Not
I like the
fun.
part where he talks about his christening wig.
Cabin Boy is much funnier on paper for some reason.
Yeah.
it absolutely is. That is
So-
100% true.
You know, Tim Burton produced that, and I guess he almost directed because he was a fan of Get a Life. And Rachel, you're talking about like the severed head and the baby carriage, stuff like that. You can see Tim Burton being very interested.
He's like,
So-
I'm listening.
So he contacted them, I guess, and wanted to get involved.
He ended up directing Ed Wood instead. I'm sure he's really regretting his missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Some of the special effects scenes in Cabin Boy could have been more Tim Burton.
Doesn't Cabin Boy have Adventures of Baron Munchausen
Yeah, it's like
aesthetic?
it's really brain dead Terry Gilliam. Terry Gilliam, his movies aren't that funny, those early ones, and they're kind of a slog too, but at least they look great. Gilliam was very invested in making those movies and the sets and the costumes and everything. Well, Cabin Boy is just, yeah, well, we got some tin foil and some glue. We'll
It-
put something together.
It truly looks like they're playing dress up.
That character is like a shark man, but they call him Chalky.
It's Russ Tamblyn. It's Dr. Jacoby from Twin Peaks plays the Shark Man.
You mean Riff from West Side Story?
Yes.
The woman in one of the old sailors was like, I fingered a girl's ass. You know what that means? those two people were in Cold Mountain together. I remember that specifically. I'm like, those two people were in Cabin Boy. And now they're in Cold Mountain too, together.
Good for them.
I was reading the Wikipedia page for the woman who plays the lady with all the arms that takes his virginity. And she was like a real New York hipster type, DJ'd at the Mud Club and like knew Keith Haring. And she was a performance artist. She did like a tribute to elevator music. So she just sang in the elevator at the Whitney Museum for hours. Just like real goofy shit. But then she ended up just being like a sitcom actress.
Rachel, she was on Anything But Love.
Sounds like she took my life.
Singing in elevators. That's my wife.
Take my wife, please.
Anyone seen Chris Elliott's special he did for Cinemax, where it's about the life of FDR? This is from the 80s. Apparently, he makes no effort to look or sound like FDR, of course.
Oh, wait, I think I have. There was another pilot. I watched it on YouTube many years ago. Chris Elliott tried to launch a show before Get a Life. It's kind of the same, playing around with tropes. It's a split thing. He's a detective, and it's like really film noir. And then the other half of it, when he goes home, it's a total like sitcom. He's got a wife and a jokey thing. There's like a laugh track. But his daughter is always nude.
What?
Yeah, like she just walks down the stairs completely naked. She's all blurred out. And it's just like, why don't these things ever get made? Like,
Why?
Yeah, I wonder.
I'm sorry.
like I don't remember that. You can find. I try to research it now. Like they
So
made
wait,
a
it's like a
pilot.
hard-boiled detective thing, and he's like narrating, and it's like light coming through Venetian blinds and cigarette smoke, and then he goes home and it's brightly
Action
lit.
Family?
It's
It's
called
a sitcom, but the daughter's naked.
Yeah,
It's brilliant.
It's called Action Family.
Action
Yeah.
Family.
1986.
That's
You can
a
look up-
great title.
It's on YouTube.
Aaron, that was the same year as the FDR special, 1986.
So what was Chris Elliott doing between Get a Life and Schitt's Creek?
Eagle Heart.
Oh, and the scary movies. Right?
Eagle Heart went forever.
He was a Groundhog Day.
Following U.S. Marshal Chris Monsanto as he fights crime with his two partners. Yeah, those.
He's just a real cameo hound.
Chris Elliott pulls focus. He is not a person who blends in. He shows up places you're like, Chris Elliott. It's Chris Elliott. Why is Chris Elliott here?
Yeah, like he's in the abyss. It's
Yeah.
really distracting.
Oh, right. That's right. I remember that.
It's always weird when comedians are like in a small, non-comedic role.
Ricky Gervais was a heavy in one of those CSI shows or whatever. Everyone was waiting for him to make a joke, but he just played it completely straight.
Or like it was not a memorable movie, but that movie Copland with Sylvester Stallone and Harvey Keitel. Janine Garofalo is like a cop in it. And it's just like super distracting. It was like her peak fame as like a comedian. And she's just there.
Because now Janine Garofalo, she's on those CSI shows and things like that. She needed it for her reel. She was playing the long game. She's like, look, I want to be on a cop show eventually. I'm going to need this.
And I'm going to start with Mr. Show.
For some reason, I thought the Elliots were Canadian. Bob Elliott was born in Winchester, Massachusetts, and he died in Maine. That's why I was confused, because he seemed to have some sort of Northeast corridor accent.
Chris Elliott lived in Connecticut forever, and then my sister's friend would see him in the grocery store all the time. Oh, there's Chris Elliott. Really draws attention in the produce aisle.
I feel like I would feel high if I saw Chris Elliott just in a regular, everyday scenario, thinking about him waiting in line to check out at a grocery store. That makes me laugh. Just him standing around seems funny to me. So, but Rachel, for Accent Corner, the show takes place in Minnesota for some reason.
The mother is kind of Minnesota-y.
So the mother, I know her best from a very small part that she has in the movie Pretty Woman.
Oh, right.
She sells Julia Roberts a dress. And so when on the Handsome Boy Modeling School episode, Pretty Woman plays, I was like, ah!
I guess the DVDs took forever to come out because they were getting the music royalties straightened. They have a lot of those songs.
I mean, just the R.E.M. song that is the theme song would be ludicrously expensive.
Yeah, and that was pretty uncommon at the time, too.
To have a song
From like a
instead of-
rock band as opposed to some like crap Alan Thicke wrote.
I remember that I thought the song was so cool and weird, and I didn't know it was also the band that sang Losing My Religion.
I don't know when I realized it was R.E.M. I fucking hate R.E.M. But I like that song Stand, and I like What's the Frequency, Kenneth. But on the whole, R.E.M. is just the fucking worst.
There was several recognizable songs that played just in the pilot.
Terror on the Hell Loop 5000.
So many of the episodes are called something something 2000. There's like 15 episodes that are like Trash 2000, Escort 2000.
Such late night humor. It's
Yeah.
so specific to those types of writing rooms. And like what you could get away with for 2 minutes at midnight. So it's just very strange to see it moved into a theater or in a sitcom time slot.
The context is key. Things that will go over so well in 2 minutes.
Right, when the college kids are watching and
Drunk or high or about to pass out. They're like, this is pretty funny.
Letterman pioneered that.
David Letterman's the original wiseacre. He really made me laugh in his appearance in Cabin Boy.
He doesn't even do much.
No, he doesn't do much.
He's got a fucking cigar, of course.
And he's just talking.
Is Get a Life on YouTube?
I didn't look.
Shout Factory put up the DVD. They tend to do a pretty good job.
Speaking of music, the tape that my friend had only had like 6 or 7 episodes. So I knew there was more and I was like fiending for them. And then a guy I knew in Baltimore taped the remix they did, or in like 2000, somebody released them again. Changed the music.
Yeah, they put it out on rerun on USA Network, but scrubbed all of the original music and just put in generic stuff, which is weird. That's a weird thing to do.
They did that with WKRP too, I remember.
Jason TV, I think we've already discussed a lot of the shows. Married with Children.
Was Married with Children on Fox?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on. What a question.
Yeah, that makes sense. It was. I'm trying to think of all the other Fox shows. I mean,
Herman's Head.
Herman's Head, The Simpsons, The Tracy Ullman Show.
In Living Color.
I guess when you think, I mean, those shows, it's not that outlandish that they would give Chris Elliott a shot.
Yeah, Fox was wild.
I remember watching one of those David Merkin behind the scenes things for this, and he was talking about, he was trying to bring the young ones to America, like do an American version with Chris Elliott playing the Rick Mayall character.
Yeah, of course.
But it didn't happen, so they just went with this.
Yeah, Younger Ones is just too British.
Like they're talking about Thatcher and O levels.
Fox did have a TV show that very short-lived. I don't even know why I remember it, but it was about roommates, a bunch of guys who are roommates, and it was called Pigsty.
They had a show called Duets that my parents would not let me watch because they thought it was too raunchy. They were always eating Chinese food out of boxes. I was like, that's what yuppies do. They eat Chinese food right out of the box. And I always wanted my parents to not put it on the plate. Like, I want to eat it out of the box with the chopsticks like they did on Duets.
It is a cool thing to do.
I could not think of a Mad magazine.
Valerie's got one.
I've got a good one. Get a knife.
The only one I could think of was Get a Lobotomy.
I said that.
Oh, is that what you said? I'm so
I
tired.
knew it.
I'm
That's
so
why I'm
tired.
on here
What are you-
to rectify this podcast. Rachel's on here stealing my jokes.
What are you guys, a comedy duo?
But I'm
But-
Rachel's brighter. Get a Life is already beyond Mad Magazine's level of humor. How could they even possibly belittle?
But Mad Magazine, they would just make fun of it for not being normal. They just turned it around on them. You can't beat Mad Magazine.
Uh-oh. Touch the nerve. I forgot about the Mad Magazine thing that you did. When you said that this morning, I was like, oh, like in the back when you fold the thing over and it becomes a different...
Oh, the Mad Foldin'.
How would you do that to a TV show? I guess they would be Gife.
Clearly, Greg is not an avid listener.
Oh my
I
god.
can't get to the end.
The shortest podcast on iTunes.
No, I've listened to a couple. I see you every day. I don't need to hear your thoughts on...
I make no judgment on you listening or not listening.
I got to the point at Herman's Head where you said you wouldn't have a libido sci-fi person in your brain. I said, that's enough of this. I shut it right off.
It's a middle-aged joke.
You're like, this is too revealing. You don't want to.
And then and there, I made sure to treat you well and romance you until you...
See, Greg, I mean, listening to the podcast would help you get insights.
It's easier to listen to the podcast than to engage in an in-depth conversation with me. Think about it that way.
There you go.
I can figure out what Rachel's thinking without her having to ask me questions. All right, what about the most 90s?
Oh,
There are like some homophobic, sexist jokes maybe that wouldn't fly now, I guess. I don't know.
Modeling school is a pretty 90s thing. ads in Teen Magazine for modeling classes.
The handsome boy hats that they wear in that episode look like Make America Great Again hats.
All
I'd say
right.
They're red with white type. It was kind of jarring. In the pilot, Julie Brown, not downtown Julie Brown, the other Julie Brown. What
The
else?
Homecoming Queen's got a gun. Julie
Yeah,
Brown.
my favorite. I love that song. So
As heard on Dr. Demento.
What are you saying? Because I'm a blonde in Earth Girls Are Easy?
Yes.
that's right.
Because I'm a blonde.
We're big Julie Brown fans over here.
Yeah, I love Julie
I
Brown.
was thinking
so
about that
much.
song the other day. I get stuck in my head occasionally, but it's so weird that there's a musical number in that movie.
I feel like that entire movie is just the milieu of Julie Brown come to life.
The Memphis style, Memphis interior design style.
By way of like Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then doesn't Chris Elliott kiss a Daryl Hannah poster?
Yeah, he's
pilot
over-
as well.
Daryl Hannah poster over his bed.
Those are pretty 90s. But again, it kind of exists out of time almost.
It's like Happy Days. It's like about the 50s. I don't think Get a Life touches on any current events or like anything. Happy Days might have, like,
Right.
how MASH is about Vietnam, but it's, Korean. There's none of that at all. Chris wants to be a construction worker.
Chris wants to be an escort.
He goes to live with an Amish family. He's adopted.
But I guess it's an example of early Gen X sarcasm and cynicism.
You know what it's kind of like? It's like The Jerk.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Idiot savant. You're right, Aaron. It's 90s in the execution of the entire show. Like nothing within the show storyline wise is 90s. There's no grunge.
Or even just like aesthetics. There's not really anything trend wise that sticks out. That's so 90s.
But at the same time, it's still very much of its time. It was just swimming against the current.
Zoo Animals on Wheels episode making fun of cats.
Making fun of Cats the musical.
Yeah.
Oh my
They
God.
come out into the audience. They
It's
start
supposed to be
scaring.
a cross between Cats and Starlight Express.
TV Guide did some sort of list in 1999. And it was that episode was number 19 for best TV moments. And I was like, really?
What?
That episode?
The
So
Zoo Animals on Wheels episode?
yes, I think the list had something to do with animals and TV. So
Oh.
it's a very specific niche list.
The person
But
probably just
still.
ran out of things. Oh, this one's got animal in the title.
They're like digging around, like, how about?
I did a little cursory Wikipediaing about it this morning. Apparently, Built to Spill. They have a Get to Life song. I had that album, and I never even put it two and two together. My favorite show and this band I listen to all the time.
I guess Dr. Octagon referenced Cabin Boy, the Shark Man specifically.
Wasn't he part of the Handsome Boy Modeling School hip hop project? I
I'm
think
afraid
he
my
was.
Get a Life quiz is rapidly becoming obsolete.
We've covered a
I
lot
literally
of
watched
the.
every episode within the past 48 hours that I put into the. I didn't know what I know now.
I got a Caddyshack board game. It's like trivia, and I pulled it out to my kids, like, "Oh, let's play Caddyshack." I'm like, "Yeah, let's play this." And I pulled. I was like, "What did Judge Smales wear in the gift shop?" I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Does this count as trivia?
I've
No
seen
one would know
reviews of
this.
Seinfeld like 20 times, and I've been to a quizzo night with Seinfeld, and they'll ask a question. I won't know the answer. It's just the most humbling, demeaning experience. Like, what did I watch all that for?
And then you try to do like, all right, let's do something more friendly for trivia, like Star Trek. And then there'll be like some sort of weird question about the science of warp drive. God damn it.
I was watching Star Trek, not getting a master's degree in
And warp drive technology.
warp drive technology. Yeah.
Before the quiz, do we want to rank? Right now, our top
Yeah, what-
5 are News Radio, Sybil, Caroline in the City, The Norm Show, and Erie, Indiana.
I don't even know where I would put this show.
I think
I
it's definitely in the top 10. I think it's more watchable than Wings.
Yes.
One of the titular shows of this podcast. What about Sliders?
Well, Wings is part of a food pun.
The quality of that show is
All right.
really moot.
Sliders and Get a Life.
Maybe
You can't-
Val should watch a few more before we.
Yeah.
It's unrankable.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's an asterisk.
Yeah, it's its own special category.
It's its own special
I'll
category.
put a. There's a different list for absurdism.
What rank NFL team is this ultimate frisbee team?
Like the idea of comparing Get a Life against Caroline the City just like makes my brain explode.
Well, it has to be on the list where we have miscellaneous, and right now that list has Studs and Zusha on it.
Studs is another Fox show.
I mean, this is literally 1990, the first.
I cannot.
In
believe
terms
that.
of watchability, I think it's got to be in the top 10.
I agree with you. Now that I have revisited it, that first exposure to it all those years ago did not go well for me. I was like, it grated on me so hard that I physically was like, I cannot watch a second episode of this.
Are you like identifying with protagonists in shows? Because that's all
No.
you should be doing with this.
No, I wasn't doing, I think I was just so annoyed. I was just too annoyed by Chris Elliott. He was so obnoxious to me. I couldn't enjoy any of it because I was too distracted by how annoying he was to me. I felt like he was plaguing me.
I kind of like inculcated, is that the word? Chris Elliott's conversational style, little Chrissy Peterson, where you're having a conversation and he would just be like, how many days have September? Like just total conversation annihilator.
Yeah.
We're talking of a conversation and I'll just try to say the most ridiculous thing I can, slightly relevant to the convo, and people just stop and look at me like, what? And then they try to get back to their conversation.
That's why I was nervous about this recording. I was saying to Aaron, I was like, Greg's not really a yes and type of guy. You annihilate conversations. They like stop cold.
Explains a lot of the trouble you have with my mom. What is Greg talking about?
You say something and it's like a thunder shock of like silence.
Just gave him the greatest compliment. He's blushing.
Nobody calls me a man.
I mean, it's truly amazing to behold. Anyway, my opinionation on the show is that it's wild and it's definitely interesting. Something you have to see to believe, I think. But I also understand why it only lasted 2 seasons.
Surprised it got a second season.
Yeah, it's 30 years later. And I'm still shocked that this was on the air. Not on the air then. I almost think some of the stuff that happens on that show, it would be crazy to be on the air now.
Fox doesn't have the same reputation it used to have.
Right.
I mean, Fox is very different.
It was different by the late 90s. It was different. It was more
Right.
like Melrose Place. It was still kind of vulgar, but it was a lot more slick.
This would probably, if it was on Netflix, I guess an
Like
adjacent.
that show, I Should Be Leaving.
I think you should leave. That's what I was just going to say. That feels like the adjacent TV to Get a Life
Or
is.
really anything Adult Swim, like Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, Tim and Eric, all that stuff kind of like drank his milkshake.
This connects with Letterman too, is I'm sure Chris Elliott was influenced by Andy Kaufman.
I bet there's things we don't even are mentioning. I mean, he didn't just come out of nowhere. Letterman and The Guy Under the Stairs was his big bit. I don't know.
Yes, so
He'd
weird.
come out and threaten Dave.
Rachel, you want to try this quiz?
All right, Greg, look over there.
I'll just, okay.
Wear a blindfold. Rachel, where's your blindfold?
Like Eyes Wide Shut.
I worked very hard on this. I made it too early. I did my work ahead of time, and that was a bad idea. Okay, question 1. How many times does Chris die in the series?
12.
A, never.
I feel like he's knows enough that I don't think you need to give him multiple choice.
Okay. I did tell you that one place said 10 times and one said 12. So you think it's 12?
I read it.
Okay, great. All right. The answer is 12. Good job, Greg.
You want Aaron to do it?
No.
Aaron answers the second one. Do the odd.
Okay,
Yeah.
Aaron, this one's good for you, okay?
All right.
The brief hip-hop musical project Handsome Boy Modeling School was obviously inspired by the titular episode from Get a Life. Which musical artist did not appear on the second album, White People? A, Chester Bennington. B, RZA. C, Cat Power. D, John Oates. E, Tim Meadows. F, all appeared on the second album.
What?
I don't know.
If it's all of the above, it's always there.
Good powers of deduction, Greg.
That's why I got a 900 on my SAT.
I was just gonna say,
Correct.
did you
All
do?
those people that I mentioned appeared on the second Handsome Boy Modeling School album. Cat Power, RZA, and Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. Okay.
That is the wildest mix of people I've ever heard. That's incredible. I'm so glad we're doing the quiz just to hear that. I wouldn't have known.
Question 3. According to showrunner David Merkin, the main character Chris
He
Peterson
was
is
going to be a
based,
homeless person.
on the 1950s
Oh.
TV show Dennis the Menace, which is why Chris often A, bangs a stick against his parents' fence. B, has bleach blonde hair. C, wears striped shirts. D, often repeats the phrase, "Oh, Mr. Wilson."
Rachel.
I guess the shirt.
Yes, the answer is C. That's why he wears striped shirts. All right. 4, the mailbag on Chris's bike says the name of what newspaper? Let's see if you can do it without the multiple choice.
Pioneer something?
Yes. The St. Paul Pioneer Press.
The box for the box set, it's like Get a Life, and it's Chris Elliott on the bicycle, and there's a paper bag on the front of the bicycle, and it says, America's most lovable psycho. That's the show.
Our kids, they would bring that box out to me and say, can we watch this? And they think it's Pee Wee Herman because it's the same kind of bike coming at you.
And it's got really childlike lettering,
Right,
like primary colors.
Oh, I guess Pee Wee Herman, it's the same vibe. Man-child.
Question 5. What is the name of Chris's mother on the show?
Gladys.
Got it. Correct.
Who's only 55 in the show, by the way.
Wow.
Oh my God, really? So this question, I didn't realize we were going to watch so many episodes with him in it. So what actor plays the proprietor of the Handsome Boy Modeling School?
Brian.
Bill Murray's brother.
Yeah.
A, Brian Doyle Murray, B, John Murray, C, Joel Murray, or D, Bill Murray?
Are those all of the Murray brothers?
Yes.
He plays such a huge role in the second season.
I didn't know that when I made the quiz. 7, Chris gets the lead role in what community theater musical production?
Haley Joel Osment.
A, Cats, B, Dogs, C, Rolling Through the Pet Store, D, Zoo Animals on Wheels, or E, Godspell?
Zoo Animals on Wheels.
Got it. Okay. Question 8. In episode 19 of season 1, The Big City, Chris's wallet is stolen and he becomes a celebrity with the nickname of what?
Is it Wallet Boy?
Yes.
Wallet Boy.
I haven't seen that one in forever.
The other answers I came up with were Mickey Boy, Poor Boy, Lonely Boy, and No Money Boy. Question 9. Chris decides to become a food inspector after finding a dead rat in his what?
Oh, I love the Jamaican cook. He's like, it's just a touch of Legionnaire's disease. He's sneezing into the soup or whatever. The sun is by far the hottest planet in the universe, and it would burn you if you tried to eat it. That's when he's giving testimony to Congress.
Let me ask it again.
You're
Finding a dead rat in his.
I don't,
A, cheese Danish. B, hot dog. C, milk. D, scrapple. E, Cheerios.
the cereal? Cheerios? Oh no!
Milk.
Yes.
Oh, it comes out into a cereal, doesn't it?
It's in the milk. The dead rat in the milk.
It's a
You
technicality,
get a point for
but
that?
Yeah, I get a point.
yeah, Rachel gets a point.
All right.
Question 10. Chris's prison pen pal is portrayed by.
Karma Jane Cooley. What's her name? I don't. The
Okay,
Saturday Night Live
I'll give
actress.
you well, what I did was I wrote 5 Saturday Night Live actresses here.
Uh-oh.
A, Jan Hooks. B, Nora Dunn. C, Julia Sweeney. D, Ellen Cleghorn. Or E, Melanie Hutzel.
Nora Dunn.
Yes.
Melanie Hutzel, good pull.
Delta, Delta, Delta. Kind of
Yeah.
hop, yeah. In the modeling school episode, Chris's instructor tells him he has what kind of nose?
A Roman
Pug Roman.
Yes.
Roman pug.
He's right. Yeah.
Very rare.
We did it.
Very rare.
Very rare.
Good job, Greg.
Thanks. Nothing to do with warp drives.
That's because Rachel's a kind quiz
Mhm.
crafter, She's not like Chris Elliott's character worked for the St. Paul Pioneer Press. In what year was the St. Paul Pioneer Press founded?
Right.
That's not a question about Get a Life.
Is that a real newspaper?
I don't think so, but
There's one called The Pioneer that's a real one.
okay. I once went to a screening / quiz-o of League of Their Own, and all of the questions were like that, where it was just vaguely themed around a League of Their Own, but there were no actual questions about things in the movie. It was questions about baseball, actual baseball teams. I was like, this is not what I wanted.
Well, now we just have left What You Watching.
What you watching, Greg and Rachel?
We finished Raised by Wolves. We finished Gilded Age. Gilded Age is very bad.
It's hilarious.
Greg, you watched all of the Gilded Age?
To me, it is 100% comedy. I would laugh out loud at least a dozen times. The poor excuse for drama. And I love seeing old men help young men put pants on.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's the word on the street.
Thank you for that. I guess.
That seems like something that Chris Elliott would have. Like
Maybe they would have got to it in the 3rd season where he goes around.
that should have been in Cabin Boy.
Well, the 3rd season was going to be him as a hobo traveling around the country and helping people with their problems.
Can you imagine waking up in the morning out of bed and you get up, I gotta go downstairs, but the old guy hasn't come into my bedroom and helped me put my pants on yet. I can't leave the bedroom. I'm
Put
stuck
the
here.
robe.
The opening scenes to Coming to America, I think, really. The royal penis is clean. There's so much comedy about that. This being assisted in your day-to-day activities. These things that seem like they would be made harder by having an assistant help you with them.
I'll clean my own penis, thank you.
Like, I think you could get your penis clean faster if you just did it yourself.
Have you seen a foreskin?
No, gross.
But in all seriousness, I read the Vulture recap of the finale that I thought summed it up pretty well, which is that the Gilded Age constantly introduces drama, a high stakes situation, and then it dissolves within each episode. Like nothing ever lasts more than one episode. They drop every thread.
The thing that does build is that gay guy trying to catfish the daughter the whole time.
It doesn't build up,
It's
nothing happens.
It's absolutely undramatic, and then nothing happens.
Well, right. And then also there's a romantic relationship that's at the core, and one of them is the actress Meryl Streep's daughter. That just falls flat. I mean, I don't know if neither one of them has chemistry or charisma, but I think the bigger overarching issue with Gilded Age is that it's like a PBS quality show that's on HBO. You only see one pair of boobs in the whole thing.
Oh my God.
And if I were that actress, I'd be like, wait, what?
Why
Mine
me?
were the only
Mine?
ones in the whole show. That's really a lot of pressure.
Were they at least good?
They were very small.
They
so
were
they
gilded.
TLC Tittyless crew represent.
Did you feel good about that, Rachel? You're like,
Okay.
yay.
Just walks into the guy's room completely naked.
Don't spoil
Like the daughter in Action Family.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
We tried to get into the second season of The Righteous Gemstones. Well, we're going to finish it, but I find it to be two issues. One, the characters had some development at the end of season one that they backtracked on, so that they went back to being 100% complete buffoons, the three siblings. And I think that contrasted with just the always excellent acting work of John Goodman is kind of painful to watch. He's so excellent, I think. I don't know. I'm seeing like so much stuff happening with his character and identify with him. And I'm like, why is he saddled with these children? It's just so upsetting to me.
I think it's just a little one-notey, constant arguing.
It's not for all tastes, I guess.
And I watched a gardening movie, and I think it might be the last thing that Alan Rickman worked on, A Little Chaos. He plays Louis XIV, and he's building the garden at Versailles, and Kate Winslet is the gardener he hires, and barely anything happens in the movie, but Alan Rickman's in it, Kate Winslet's in it, and there's gardening, so.
You're into it. Aaron and I have been watching Impeachment: American Crime Story, which is the Ryan Murphy show. It's an anthology. It's been 3 seasons and every story has been from the 90s. OJ, Versace's murder, and now it's the Bill Clinton impeachment. We enjoyed it.
Well, it's just weird because, you remember these kind of names, but it was just like, I wasn't paying attention. Whitewater, what's that? I still don't know. I don't think anyone fucking knows. And then these weird sex scandals got roped into it, and it's still very confusing. Why did any of this happen? A very, very strange story, and how Monica Lewinsky just got thrown under the bus by everybody, by absolutely everybody.
Colby Smulders plays Ann Coulter.
Matt Drudge is a character.
Matt Drudge is the character.
I was shocked to see him.
Sarah Paulson plays Linda Tripp, and Aaron didn't know it was Sarah Paulson until I told him.
Why would I?
She's wearing a fat suit, the way that she's walking, the way that she carries herself. It's an incredible performance. And then Aaron and I are in the middle of watching The Dropout, another historical rendering of events.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much about it because there's 2 episodes that still need to air, but it's been good so far. It's been really well made.
I was fascinated with it when it first happened, and we watched the HBO doc, and I thought it was really interesting that I think the doc made the good point that a lot of starting a company is lying or faking it till you make it. And even Edison had lied to investors about the light bulb being ready or whatever before it was, and just kind of crossed his fingers and hope.
But she kept doing it. I understand keeping your promises one step ahead of reality once or twice, but with her, it just kind of escalated.
Yeah, she is not unlike a lot of startup CEOs out there, but it's a lot less problematic to lie about an app, a harmless app. If that's buggy, that's not affecting people's health and well-being. She's lying about something that has very real consequences for people's lives.
Yeah, you can't make healthcare vaporware.
Exactly.
I mean, Edison knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing. He was the person who was doing it. So if he was lying about something, he probably in his head thought, all right, I'm lying now, but I'm so close to figuring it out that I won't be lying next time. Whereas she never knew anything about anything. She put her name on all of the patents. She didn't develop any of that science. She dropped out of Stanford when she was like a sophomore. She didn't know anything about this stuff. It was just an idea. Wouldn't it be great if you don't have to get your blood drawn to get all these tests? All you need is a 1 drop of blood. Doesn't that sound great? And it's like, yeah, it sounds great.
You can bullshit fad diets and self-help or like yourself as a celebrity. These are things you can, with the right attitude or connections, you can bullshit this stuff forever, but you can't bullshit medical tech forever. It's someone's gonna wise up.
The e-meter didn't get FDA approval either.
That's just it, Valerie. L. Ron Hubbard wanted Dianetics to be approved by the psychiatric establishment. And when they were like, absolutely not, well, fuck you. I'll make it a religion then. He was able to shift gears.
That's the thing. L. Ron Hubbard knew how to shift and adjust.
Yeah.
She just kept lying. She's like, I'll just power through. If I just think it hard enough, it will work out. Got to turn it into religion. That's your only move.
Fatal mistake.
All right.
All right. Well, I think this was a great episode.
Thanks for having me.
So this has been Sliders and Wings. You can find us at Sliders and Wings Pod at Instagram.
You can email us at slidersandwings@gmail.com. And that's it.
I'm Craig.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Val. Good night.
Good night, everybody.